Well, you made it. You made it to the end of the week. The ups, the downs, the high stress. You've stuck to your training. You've maintained your diet, and you feel like you deserve a little break, like you deserve a chance to cut loose. Well, I'm here with this video to give you a couple recommendations and best practices to not let the weekend ruin your progress. First and foremost, we don't want to go overboard with a caloric surplus, okay? One day, much less an entire weekend, or worse, a 3 or a 4 day, like a holiday weekend, can completely disrupt all the work that you did in terms of your energy balance equation for the entire week. This is arguably the biggest error in judgment that a lot of people make, is they feel like, 5 days of being super restrictive, well, I can cut loose, Saturday and Sunday. That's not necessarily the case. Do the math. If you are accurate with what you're putting down in your dietary recall, or however it is that you track your calories and macros, you will likely find that those weekend binges put you far in excess of what your maintenance should be, much less being in a deficit. Because after all, this video is speaking to the fitness enthusiast / general population that is trying to, whether the goal is lose weight or gain muscle, remain relatively lean. So that's first and foremost. That kind of dovetails into some of the things that can kind of get you into that binge eating caloric surplus mode. The elephant in the room, of course, is going to be alcohol. Now, here's the thing about alcohol, and this isn't coming from a teetotaling abstainer. I still have a little something every once in a while, but I just don't do it all the time anymore, because the thing about alcohol and a reduction in adiposity and losing weight, well, there's two main things, even more so than the calories of the alcohol, because you can kind of make the calories a non-issue for the most part. And we can talk about that in a separate video. But the main two issues are, number one, the lack of inhibitions, and number two, how it affects your recovery. So let's address the first thing. The elephant in the room, the lack of inhibitions, can completely derail your diet. And if we don't know that personally ourselves, we certainly have seen it in action for sure. We all know that person, and it might even be us. I know it's me, or used to be, where, you're super strict Monday through Friday, and then Friday night hits, you go out, you have one too many, and next thing you know, you're outside at that taco stand or the $1.50 slices of pepperoni, and you're getting like 3 or 4 of them, and the next morning you wake up and you're like 12 pounds heavier, all bloated, and you're just like, what happened? And then your buddies are like, you got hammered and you ate like all the pizza, dude. Completely realistic scenario that I'm sure many of us identify with. So the thing with alcohol is, if you are going to partake, one of the best practices that I instituted early on for myself when I was a bartender, even before the military, was if I was going to go out to drink, I would make sure I had food ready for me at my apartment, like at home. So if I stumbled in and people were like, let's get Chinese, let's get pizza, let's get tacos or whatever, I'd be like, no, I got chicken and rice, and you know what I mean? You set yourself up for success so that when you are on autopilot, worst case scenario, you can stumble right into that good meal that doesn't derail your progress, and then you only have to worry about the second thing, which we're going to talk about next, the recovery. Sleep quality goes to crap when you're hammered, okay? You might pass out and ostensibly sleep for X amount of hours, but it's not the same thing as falling asleep well-rested, well-fed, hydrated, so on and so forth. I've even seen some literature that suggests that falling asleep hammered, like basically passing out, is similar to getting knocked out, getting punched out, unconscious. So all that to say, yeah, it's hours where energy utilization is restricted you're laying down, not doing anything. But in terms of particularly the mental recovery for your brain, much less the mechanisms of fat loss and muscle repair and all these kinds of things, you're not going to be 100% after a night of drinking, especially if you drank a lot. Maybe if you have one or two, and tolerance is a very nuanced thing. But again, heavy drinking is going to severely hamper your recovery. So all that to say, I'm not telling you don't have a good time on the weekends and don't drink, but just know what it's going to do to you if you pull that lever too hard, and kind of prepare yourselves for assuming some of that, I don't want to say risk, but deleterious effect. So that segues nicely into the whole sleep conversation. Now, with sleep, a lot of us like to stay up late on the weekends to catch a fight, watch a movie, catch up on our favorite show that we didn't watch during the week because we had to sleep. But one thing that I found that's helped me a lot in terms of week-to-week consistency is trying not to deviate too far from my sleep schedule on the weekends. I know it's kind of like an old man boomer type thing, but I still try to go to bed like no later than maybe 10 p.m. Friday, Saturday, so that I can be up, call it 5, 6 in the morning. And then that way on Monday, when it's a work week, I don't need to push my alarm clock way to the left and just eat a night of, 3-4 hours to get back on the work week schedule. And then the other thing with that too is if you go to sleep at your regular work week time and then just sleep in a couple extra hours, you can just bank those extra hours of sleep and add to your recovery over the weekend. Because that's really what it's all about, is fatigue management. And the weekends should give you more of a buffer to manage fatigue than they should dig you a deeper hole with, overeating and excessive drinking and, poor recovery on account of drunk sleep. Then the last recommendation is actually not on the weekend, but it's leading up to the weekend. And that's just, don't be so restrictive during the week that you feel the need to go completely overboard on the weekend. Remember, biology is action over time. You'll get a lot more out of a slight deficit and a little bit of activity than you will like crazy workouts Monday through Friday, and then you're just completely gassed out Saturday, Sunday, or you feel the need to cut loose, have some drinks, and then eat a bunch of pizza. The big levers are always going to be smart, sustainable training, recovery, and proper nutrition, weekday or weekend. Consistency is a superpower, so stay in the fight. Thanks for watching.